Let me request Dr. Sridhar Kasturi to give his talk on OCT during ST elevation MI. Dr. Kasturi?
Yeah, good morning, all of you. Are you able to hear my voice?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Now I'll be showing mainly. No, but it's not, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
As base, good morning to all of you. Today I'll be showing some case of OCT which were done during STEMI. So the STEMI, the block classification algorithm by OCTs, most common cause is a block rupture. That is contributing almost 44% of patients, and followed by erosion and nodule, calcific nodule, eruptive nodule leading to thrombus. In some cases, maybe because of the spontaneous coronary dissection or unclassified causes. So when you see the OCT, it may be disrupted fibrous block or intact fibrous cup. To differentiate. And disrupted fiber, when you see, if you see the lot of calcium, the calcium nodule projecting, that may lead to eruptive nodule leading to thrombus formation. If you see the intact fibrous cap with the thrombus without any block rupture, it may be of the OCT erosion. So you have to see other causes of like a thrombus embolism or spontaneous coronary dissection or unclassified causes. So I'll show one case, a few cases. 32-year-old female patient. Actually, she came to hospital as attendant. So she was accompanying her father-in-law to hospital for COPD admission. She was waiting outside the casualty. Suddenly she collapsed and she became breathless and unable to respond. Then immediately we carried CPR for almost 30 minutes, almost 6 to 7 DC shocks were given, intubated, shifted to cath lab, and ECG showed extensive anterior MI. So then that time we ordered tests, and drop I is significantly elevated, NT-proBNP elevated. This is the ECG. Then we immediately, because of the very sudden hemodynamic collapse, then put her on ECMO, and emergency angio was done, which showed LED. We can see the left RCA is fine, LCX also dominate normal, LCX is normal, LED proximal total occlusion. And while doing PC also, she was developing episodes of VTVF, and we carried DC shock, and then ECMO was supported. And that time we were very curious to see 30-year-old female, no past history, why she suddenly developed. They showed a long fibrous block with a lipid block proximally with block rupture. You can see very clearly the block rupture, red thrombus, and left main just after D1. The disease segment started. You can see the very long segment fibrolipid block. And then we carried stenting, that is 3x26 resolute onyx. And beyond stent, there was a significant block, and there is if you see the area is 4.2, 3.2, and there's significant luminal area narrowing. You can see the proximal stent is very well opposed, but this area is, there is another area of block rupture, and you can see very clearly there's a block rupture and distally trilaminar structure. And then we have put one more stent, 2.75 into 38 resolute onyx, and postal 3 into 12 mm. And then you can see here again another area of very tight block, 2.7 square mm, as per the at least 4.5 or more than cell reference diameter. And when implanted one more stent, this is a final angiography, and you can see the proximally there was a malformation that was rectified with a bigger balloon. And this is the patient developed because IV jugular cannulation, so intrajugular cannulation, the patient developed right upper limb thrombosis, and that was treated with Novax. And patient also developed large hematoma at groin side because of the patient underwent ECMO. Then that was removed and patient finally discharged on 12th day. This is a 49-year-old male known case of diabetes mellitus, EAD, ACS eval with interval MI. And you see the ECG, sorry, it's a female patient. ECG showed interval MI. She came 1 day late. You see the left main, there is a large thrombus in the left main at the site of origin. So arterial thrombosis right corner is normal. Then we gave intracoronary tenecteplase 10 mg and abciximab 10 ml was infused. And our intention, give the thrombotherapy. Next day, you still, if the residual plaque burden is there, go ahead with the stenting. And you see the next day, angiogram showed very well recanalized. Even previously, diagonal was significant reduction in the flow. Now the almost immigrated flow, but haziness at the LAD D1 junction. So now, then we thought of doing the OCT study mainly to see how is the LMCA origin, what could be the cause of the LMCA thrombus. And you see there is a large lipid plaque. The minimal luminal area is 9 square mm, and you can see the very large and with a lot of macrophages. This could be because of the erosion. There is no plaque rupture. Erosion of the ostial left main area leading to the thrombus formation. And you see distally, LAD-D1 bifurcation, there is a thrombus. The thrombus migrated and it's landed in D1 ostia. So that is recannulated with, but still some residual thrombus was there. Then we gave another dose of glycoprotein 2B A3 blocker. Subsequently, we have put her on rivaroxaban. You can see very nice distally trilaminar structure. Here also trilaminar structure, D1 junction showing a thrombus and well recanalized. This is a lot of hectatic area, and this area is significantly, though disease there is no thrombus is there. It's not significant disease there, no thrombus is there. Then we treated her conservatively. And then 47-year-old male known hypertensive present with interval MI, and patient showed QS in V3 to V6, ST elevation VV4. You can see the LAD. There is a tight lesion with thrombus containing lesion. This is anterior STEMI presentation. And you can see the, we have put wire into the diagonal. And this is the OCT run. OCT run showed definitely lipid-rich block with the TCFA, thin cap fibroatherum, the block rupture, and red thrombus. You can see the analysis very clearly. This is the healed block, and we have a lot of macrophages. You can see this is the classic picture of the block rupture. You can see block with the empty cavity, necrotic zone, and you can see the lipid-rich block and area block rupture. So this block rupture is a classic type 1 myocardial infarction. Then we assess the length and diameter. And this is the healed block with areas of macrophages, you can see very clearly. And then we implanted 2.75 into 40 mm Zions expedition, for dilated with 3 mm NC-TREC balloon. This is the post-tent image. You can see just this is the LCX origin here, RAMS, and left main is left main area is absolutely fine. That's the reason we have not stented in the left main, and it is extended up to the LAD ostium. So very well expanded without any malocclusion. You can see very clearly just landing at the level of the RAMS level. The LCX is disease free and LAD is disease free. And this the analysis, you can see the RAMS bifurcation site. RAMS is very well patent, and diagonal is also very well patent based upon the OCT and angiogram. The 67-year-old male known hypertensive present with chest pain, as the giddiness, nausea, established inferior MI, presented with pulmonary edema, treated with TPA. Previously underwent BMS in 2002 to right coronary artery. And this is the angiographic picture. You can see the separate origin of the LAD and LCX. And you can see the haziness in the LAD. But the main culprit lesion was right coronary. And you can see the previous stented area, some stents struts were not endothelialized. There is a lot of calcium. You can see very clearly. 1 minute. You can see the area of calcium here, trilaminar area. you can see the big thrombus in the previous stented area because of the neoatherosclerosis, and you can see the calcified area dissection. You can see the previous threads. There is a calcium. You can see that a neoatherosclerosis with the calcification. This is the thrombus. You can see large thrombus in the thrombus. Then we assess the proximal diameter, distal diameter, and the length of the lesion. And this is the proximal reference diameter, and this is the area of interest, and this is the distal area, almost like a distal luminal diameter 2.6, proximal 3.4. Then this is the area of assessment, and implanted with 3 into 38 mm resolute onyx. Proximal RCA post dilated because the area is bigger, 4 mm post dilatation was done. Distal RCA was started with 2.5 to 26 mm. This is the final angiographic view. You can see nicely expanded stent, and area is everywhere 6.3 mm, 7.4, 6.9, 7.6. So without proximally, it's a very well malopose, and maloposition is more than 30%. So that's the reason again with bigger balloon it opposed very well, and it was rectified. Base area still area is we are landing in a calcific plaque zone. You see more than 70 degrees angle, and there's a thick calcification, and the luminal area is very small, 2.7 square mm. So it has to be addressed by the restores rate is more. So then that's the reason this area was 11.8. That is we put the 12 mm stent. So this is the final angiographic view. You can see very clearly it's a nicely expanded stent. So these are 2 stents were implanted. This is a 53-year-old male presented with the ACS, past history of ECF RCA. In 2012, I only treated, and patient underwent stenting. He developed acute stent thrombosis, then proximal edge dissection was there. That time restented, and 8 years later, because of the poor compliance of the antiplatelet therapy, presented with acute infravall MI. And because 8 years he was doing well in spite of poor compliance. You can see the right coronary. There is stent thrombosis, and you can see the OCT analysis. You can there is significant narrowing, and you can see classic block rupture with neoatherosclerosis. You see, this is the this is a ISR because the neoatherosclerosis. You can see the block rupture and leading to acute stent thrombosis. Proximal stenting done with 4 into 38 mm resolute analysis. Distal was done with 4 into 15 mm stent. This is the OCT analysis. Post procedure area is very well achieved, like a 13 mm square, 12 mm square mm. So very good area of achievement. So this is the analysis. You can see proximally 4 mm diameter achieved, and mid area 3.6, distal area 4.6 square mm. So this is the area of ISR. Spotty calcification you can see very clearly in neoatherosclerosis, and the area of calcification. And you can see this is the previous area, so mildly underexpanded. For that reason, we have expanded it with the bigger balloon. This is the final view. You can see nicely expanded stent with timigrate 3 flow. So now OCT might be the best tool to identify vulnerable plaque by detecting 7 to 8 out of 10 criteria, except for glycerin of yellow color, endothelial dysfunction, intraplaque hemorrhage. Mainly, it shows the thin cap fibroatheroma. It shows the lipid-rich plaque. It also shows it also shows spotty calcification, vasovasorum, macrophages, cholesterol crystals. Based upon that, we can say it's like inflamed lipid-rich plaque, which may lead to plaque rupture. And this is a CLIMA study based. The OCT can show very clearly the spotty calcification. Sensitivity is very, very high, and the thickness of the calcium you can assess very clearly. Based upon the CLIMA study, if the MLA is less than 3.5 square mm, and if you find the TCFA and lipid arc more than 180 degree, you see a lot of macrophage and spotty calcification, MACE rate is very, very high. So 1 year MACE rate is very high. So that's the reason. So finally, to conclude, when you see the EC change substemy, you decide is it obstructive coronary heart disease or non-obstructive coronary disease or normal coronaries. If you see the clear culprit like a block rupture, you can go ahead. Suppose if the lesion is ambiguous like a thrombus, or if there is dissection, or some kind of spontaneous coronary dissection or calcific nodule type of haziness, ambiguous is there, always do the imaging and then you decide is it because of block rupture or erosion, and is it because of spontaneous coronary dissection. If there's no culprit lesion, you may think it's like a type 2 infarct. So normal coronaries are there, regional valve motion abnormality there, see the MRI, is it Takotsubo type of disease, and or is it because of Minoka? So based on that, you can treat it, conservatively or not. The last slide, thrombus dissection. The OCT is very, very sensitive in detecting thrombus dissection, and it differentiates the right thrombus from the white thrombus is the current gold standard. And intravascular imaging highlights the features of ACS like a block rupture, and it differentiates the thrombus erosion. Many times it can be treated conservatively without any stenting. And this is imaging is very, very important tool, mainly in spontaneous coronary arteries, particularly young females when they present. So whether to go ahead with conservative treatment or stenting also, you can decide based on an intravascular imaging. So always do the intravascular imaging to assess whether any significant coronary artery disease are not there. Thank you very much for paying attention to this one. And if you have any questions, I think at the end of that session, you can ask. I think OCT has a great role in acute STEMI to decide what type of etiology causing the STEMI, and based upon that, you can guide the treatment. But one of the main drawbacks when you have a full thrombus, you can do the thrombus aspiration, you can do the proper image acquisition. Sometimes it's a very short occlusion, do the 1.5 mm balloon dilatation, see that good flow is there to acquire the good OCT images. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Sridhar, for a very lucid case-based presentation showing the utility of OCT in a situation of acute MI, thrombus visualization, plaque visualization, optimizing the result, looking for any residual lesions. It was very educative, and I'm sure at the end of the session, we'll have some questions.
Yes,
Dr. Bhattacharya to take the next session and introduce the speaker.